For Canadians, 1 of 4 deaths is a result of cancer. That's very high odds that someone will get cancer. But some people will say it's just because people are now living longer. You have to die of something. But that doesn't wash with the man you're about to meet. Dr. David Servan-Schreiber says we are in the midst of a self-inflicted cancer epidemic. He's outlined his research in a controversial but best-selling new book called Anti-Cancer, The Way of Life. He has, what he says, are solutions to this cancer epidemic. And his reasons for writing this book, well, they're very personal.
I had my own neuroimaging lab at the time, doing brain scanning experiments, and one evening one of the subjects slotted for the experiment didn't show up. So we didn't want to waste the scanner time, and I got into the machine. And I learned from my friend and collaborator, Jonathan, from the control room that there was something wrong. He came into the room and put his hand on mine and said, David, there's something in your brain and we can't do the experiment. And that's how I learned that I had brain cancer. When we looked at the images, I really got worried because it couldn't be much else than a brain tumor. Well, I knew that wasn't good. There's not much that can be in your brain that would be good. When my father picked up the telephone on the other side of the Atlantic, I could hear his joy at getting my call. My heart sank. It was as if I was about to plant a dagger in his chest. Dad, I found out I have a brain cancer. I heard him choke up. Oh, David, this can't be.
David's father was Jean-Jacques Servan-Schreiber, a high-profile journalist and best-selling author in France, who died last year. Expectations were high for young David coming from such a well-known family, and he proved himself. David became a founding member of Médecins Sans Frontières, and he was on his way to becoming a leading neuroscientist.
I was 31 years old. I'd gone through medical school. I had finished a PhD in cognitive neuroscience under a Nobel laureate. I already had my own lab at the university when I was finishing my training as a psychiatrist, so it really looked like I had the world at my feet. Cancer hit right out in that blue sky. It was quite a shock. After the first treatment, I didn't change anything in my lifestyle because nobody suggested that it would make any difference. And I thought I was very confident in my own profession, you know, in science, in the medical system. And I thought, okay, we did the best we could. The rest is up to God, you know. I don't need to do anything. And that was just plain wrong.
And so David at first continued life as before, drinking his usual 4 Pepsis a day, eating a diet rich in sugar and fat. It was only after a serious relapse and another surgery and another full course of radiation and chemotherapy that he decided to begin his own cancer research.
What I've learned when I try to understand as much as I could about cancer, that this is an epidemic. That everybody agrees this is an epidemic. It's not because we're growing older or that we do more systematic detection, because children have more cancers than they ever used to. So something about our way of life is creating this cancer epidemic. So of course it is reversible. We need to change the factors in our environment and in our way of living that promote cancer growth and backtrack, get back to things that are much healthier for our body.
The World Cancer Research Foundation issued a report last year that states that an astonishing 40% of cancers in the West are preventable simply by getting a little bit more exercise and making some changes in how we eat. For Servan-Schreiber, that is the key. You might be surprised what he calls the #1 cancer promoter in the West. It's not pollution or pesticides. For Servan-Schreiber, it's sugar.
We went from eating 25 kilograms of white sugar per person per year in the 1800s to eating roughly 70 kilograms per person per year in 2000. Now, sugar feeds cancer growth directly. Cancer cells cannot feed on anything else than raw sugar. In fact, to detect cancer in the body, we do a PET scan that measures where does radioactive sugar accumulate in the body. And sugar also creates inflammation in the body, which is favorable to cancer growth and dispersion.